Welcome to the final go-to lecture for the month. So yes, we're in the final stretch. You can see my screen, I hope. You can see that here we are on week 4. You know how Full Sail works. It's much more of a sprint than a marathon, right? 4 weeks. It's a month. A month seems like a long time, but not at Full Sail. If you think they go quickly for you as a student, month to month, class to class, they go quickly for instructors as well. Um, so welcome to week 4. As I mentioned in last week's lecture, last week was the intense week, okay? Because you had this guy here, the research outline that was due on a Sunday. Then immediately you had to turn around and hand in a draft on Wednesday. And then you immediately had to turn around and then complete peer review, which was due this past Sunday. So yeah, pretty intense week. But week 4 is much, much lighter, okay? And that's why this session is going to be pretty short, because I just have to go over what we're doing in this final week. So as you can see, here's week 4. You have 3 things to do, and a 4th thing that I'll talk about in a moment, but it's essentially ungraded. You have your final achieve module, okay? So you didn't have one last week, because last week was already quite busy. But you have a final achieve module to do. Most of you are doing fine with that. So just get that last one banged out over at McGraw-Hill. So we're really talking about kind of 2 activities. A journal response, which again, you didn't have last week that either. The final journal response is really, really simple. Okay. Again, you can read through most of this on your own, but the core stuff is here. After reading your peer review and your instructor's feedback, I've graded all the essay drafts that I received. Okay, so all of you who handed in essays have received feedback. So you have this entire week to consider that feedback and work on revision. But you hopefully got up at least one peer response. Okay, but yeah, read that peer review we received, read my feedback, and then answer that this question. What are the 3 most important changes you plan to make to improve your essay based on this feedback? And how will these changes make it stronger? And be specific here, okay? What 3 changes do you plan to make, and why are you making them? Okay, how will they make your essay improved? And then second, considering this week's lecture and readings, what strategies will you use to revise your essay? Okay, so this is kind of a 2-point thing here. One is to summarize your feedback from me and one of your classmates, and second, to pull something from this lecture and the reading to also mention to discuss what you're going to do in revision. So it's a really simple journal assignment. I really just want to see these questions answered with specificity. Okay. And yeah, the journal, I think there's not much more to say about that. It's pretty straightforward. So the main task is to work on this guy here, revision. Let's take a look at this real quickly. Revision, I think you know what that means, right? It's kind of included in the word. Vision is contained in the word revision, and re, the prefix, means to do again. So we are literally looking at something again, looking at something anew. You handed in your essay draft on Sunday, or excuse me, last Wednesday. They've already been graded. I got them finished yesterday. And yeah, now it's time to take that feedback that you received from me and one of your classmates and revise. And revise means top to bottom, okay? So for people who still don't have a thesis statement, well, that needs to be in place. People need to improve in areas of either organization or content. Those things need to be addressed. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought for a second there. But yeah, it also includes smaller stuff, okay? Grammar, proofreading, APA. Think of it as kind of 2 big umbrella things. Here, let me open up a blank document. Okay, so there are sort of global or big picture issues such as thesis, content, organization, okay? Big stuff. So, is there a clear thesis that has 3 discussion points listed, right? You're going to discuss your chosen ad in terms of these 3 things that you've noticed in the ad. Do you have a thesis that states that? content relates back to thesis, right? And if you need a refresher on this, I covered this, I believe, in the week 3 lecture, last week's lecture, right? Essay basics. But essentially, we're writing the traditional 5-paragraph essay: an introduction paragraph, which is a general paragraph; a conclusion paragraph, which is also general, closes the essay down; and in between, 3 body paragraphs. And this is where the analysis takes place. This is where you discuss those 3 things that you notice in the ad in detail, 1 paragraph at a time, with research. An organization also ties back to thesis, because that thesis is setting up that 5-paragraph structure. Again, we've talked about this in past lectures. I've given everyone a sample essay to look at. Okay, there was a sample essay included in the instructions for the essay draft assignments as well, but I gave everybody a copy of the Jeep essay that I wrote, because I wrote that paper keeping in mind that it should be acting as a model for what I kind of want students to try to aim for. It follows that 5-paragraph form exactly. It's color-coded and highlighted, so the thesis is highlighted. The thesis's 3 main points are highlighted. The topic sentences are highlighted, so you can see the structure. Okay, so anybody who watches this lecture who is still struggling with some of these basics, like thesis, content, organizations, review past lectures, study that sample essay. Okay. Again, you can learn so much just by looking at examples. And for some students, things don't truly click until they see a sample essay. But yeah, use all these tools that you had, as well as my feedback. And then there are the local concerns. These are the smaller picture items. So this is stuff related to grammar, proofreading, and APA. Okay. This stuff is most important, meaning, yeah, why would we fix individual grammar issues like a spelling error or a missed comma if, for example, entire sentences might disappear because this stuff needs attention, right? So, and I'm not saying this happens often, but sometimes I'll receive a paper that really isn't an ad analysis essay. It's like a report on the company. So instead of analyzing, let's say, the Allstate ad, it's a 3-page paper on Allstate, right? That's not what the assignment is. That student would have to return here and focus on these big picture things, okay? This stuff is most important. It's not that this is unimportant. It's just, it comes second, okay? But for revision, you have to address both. Now, some people, if your essay draft was in pretty good shape, maybe you'll be spending more of your time here. Maybe most of your focus is going to be on cleanup, grammar, proofreading, APA. Devontae asks, where do you go to view the sample essay? Yeah, Devontae, you might not have gotten it because we need to talk about your situation. I did send it out as an announcement. So if you go and search back through the announcements, in week 2, I did send the paper out. But I've also been attaching it to recent feedback. So when I graded people's essay drafts, I sometimes attach the essay again, saying, here, study this essay. But yeah, Devontae, I can certainly get you that if you have trouble finding that announcement from 2 weeks ago. Okay, so yeah, revision is a top to bottom thing. For grammar and proofreading, I strongly recommend using Microsoft Word's tools. Okay, Microsoft Word, which I'm in right now, has, for example, spelling and grammar. So run it on your documents. There's also an online tool called Grammarly. You've maybe seen their advertisements on television. I've never tried Grammarly, so I don't know how it works, but supposedly it's pretty good. You can rely on a trusted friend or a family member to help you proofread. They shouldn't be writing for you. They shouldn't be, revising entire sentences or paragraphs for you. But sure, bring in someone you trust to help spot issues in your paper. Okay. But the essay draft, which was a lower stakes assignment, remember I explained last week how the grading rubric for the essay draft was pretty generous because it was based on hitting essential marks, right? Like if you had a thesis, you get all the points for that. Even if maybe the thesis could have been worded a bit more effectively, if there was a thesis and it had 3 points in it, you got that category. If you had a 5-paragraph structure, you got the credit for that category. The revision assignment is a bit different. Okay, it's going to be graded in terms of thesis, organization, content, APA, and grammar. Okay, so these each receive a score out of 20 points. And you can read through all this on your own. It repeats some stuff that I just went over, such as global issues. Address these first. Local issues. Now, a couple things, because there is some confusing information here. For example, rebuilders. It says, so if you're using an ad from a past course, I think I only have 1 or 2 students who are doing that. You must have 50% different content than your draft. I'm not going to look at your paper and try to gauge. Because what if someone did a fantastic job on their essay draft? What, they have to rewrite half of it? So that it's 50% different? That doesn't make much sense. So yeah, don't panic so much about this. Same thing here, okay? So people are they've chosen one of my approved ads, okay? The McDonald's ad, the Allstate ad, the Call of Duty ad, the Salvation Army ad, etc. That they have to have 30% new content. No, don't worry about that. I don't know why. I'm all for, yes, there's a penalty for just handing in the same paper again. Don't do that, okay? There's a reason why this week is mostly lighter. It's so you can spend the week truly revising your paper. And it should be your strongest possible work. Okay, so the essay draft, yeah, I'm not as harsh on things like grammar. So even if I did make a number of comments in your paper, students still pretty much receive full credit for the grammar category on that. But here's where you're submitting your final work, your strongest work, the work you stand behind. You're going to present this final essay and say, this is my ad analysis essay. The essay draft you read, earlier in the week, yeah, that was on its way. It had promise, but there were still things that needed to be fixed. And I can say that everyone has stuff to focus on. Even though essays, a few of them were pretty strong overall in terms of following the 5-paragraph structure, having clear thesis, performing ad analysis. Usually there were problems either at the sentence level with, again, grammar mechanics or proofreading, or APA. Okay, I also gave everybody a video. I did cover APA in the week 3 lecture, but because if you remember last week's lecture, there was a few stumbles. I gave people a different video in my feedback. It's a link to a past lecture. So there might be some comments on it that confuse people because maybe I was speaking to specifics of that class back in whenever it was, March or April. But the 95% of the content is APA, where I walk through APA. So use that video, okay? If you watch that video and just follow along, rewind or go back to parts of the video if you have to watch it again. But if you watch that APA video, you should be able to produce a clean looking APA document. Okay, but yeah, don't worry about this stuff about having 30% new content. Okay, if your paper is already in pretty strong shape, I don't need you to, for no reason really, revise a third of it. Make revisions based on, my feedback to you. Okay, and here's a more detailed look at the rubric. Does it, I forget where it is. Here, it's here on the rubric itself that there's, the 5 points are deducted for basic errors. Well, it's somewhere in this document, but there's a penalty for lack of significant revision. In other words, I open up your revision and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the same paper I read 6 days ago. I'm pointing out the exact same errors. I am making the exact same comments about why isn't this paragraph more focused on the ad, or this introduction could be richer or more ambitious, right? Or there are some major APA issues that need to be addressed, and yet I'm seeing the same things. Yes, there's a penalty up to 20 points for lack of meaningful revision. I try not to be the mean instructor and take off the full 20, but yeah, if I see a paper that is really the same, exact same, again, I think, because again, I just graded all your papers. Just about everyone has something to work on. right? I didn't read any absolutely perfect essays because that's not how it works in a draft. Okay, it doesn't work for me that way. It doesn't work for you. Um, so this is the big guy. And how much is this worth? I think it's worth 15%, or is it worth 20%? Hold on. It is worth 15%. Okay, so it's worth a lot. As you can see, your essay draft was only worth 5%. And that was intentional. So people who maybe struggled on that assignment, it doesn't destroy your overall progress in the class, right? So let's say you received a low grade, or maybe a grade you're not crazy about. Okay, it's 5%. You have a chance to revise. For this guy here, 15%. So to recap, read my feedback. Watch previous lectures if you need to. Study that sample paper. I know, it's not the most thrilling paper to read, and I know it seems a little bit narcissistic for the instructor to say, here, study this model. I wrote it. But I do think it acts as a pretty good template. One thing I have to mention, your peer feedback. Maybe you got fantastic feedback from your peer. Maybe you didn't. You'll have to use that judgment. You actually have to use that judgment with my feedback as well. I think I give you pretty solid feedback, so don't dismiss it out of hand. But yeah, to take your classmates' feedback with a grain of salt. If they are making suggestions that do not make sense to you, or that just strike you as wrong, you are under no obligation to follow them. Okay, so you do not have to revise to try to satisfy everyone. I have to satisfy my peer comments. I have to satisfy David's comments and his feedback. No. You take the advice that makes sense, ignore the rest. That said, do read your peer feedback. Again, you have to do it anyway for the journal assignment. But yeah, sometimes you guys make fantastic comments. Sometimes you guys focus on things that I miss. Or maybe I don't miss, but I'm concentrating so much on other things that I don't bring up the things that you do. And obviously pay attention to my feedback. Now, there is one final thing here. It's this portfolio competency reflection essay. Do it if you can, okay? Some students do it, some students don't. For anybody who's in between grades, doing this will make me smile. Okay. Bonus points might be available, or at least enough points to nudge you toward one grade versus another. But yeah, if you are just overwhelmed with work this week, don't worry. It's a really simple thing. It's basically you're going to answer these questions, okay, in essay format. So you basically open up Microsoft Word documents, and in paragraph form, just answer these questions. Okay? It's all about writing in this class, your progress as a writer. So yeah, do this if you can. If you do, I'll smile. I'll think fondly of you. You won't get penalized, though, if you don't do it. Okay. So I shouldn't have said that if you're in between grades. I'm not going to push you towards the worst grade if you don't do it. I'm just saying I'll find a way to reward people who do this. Okay. I can't give like tons of points for doing it, but yeah. But some of you are in a position where your grade is kind of determined, and you can kind of guesstimate, like I can do it. You look at your grade and kind of know that whatever I do on the revision, I'm going to be in B land, right? Maybe it's as high as an 86, a B plus, or as low as an 83, just a solid B, but I am in B land. Or some people are in such a fantastic position, they're in A land, no matter what they do. Okay, so yeah, if you can do this portfolio, this little reflection essay, do so. But I don't know. It's supposed to be a requirement, but month after month, a lot of students just skip it. So, and I haven't been penalizing. So do it if you can. I'll figure out some sort of bonus. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine as well. Okay, let's see. What else did I want to cover? I feel like I'm skipping something important. Well, in the meantime, questions from you guys about what you need to do over this final week, or what we did last week with your essay draft. I still have to grade peer review. Okay, that's something I probably won't get to until tomorrow. And some of you, I don't know, Bernie and Niklaus, did you guys complete peer review? For students who watch this, if you did not complete peer review, try to get in touch with me. I do have a workaround for people who did not complete it. So people who did not complete peer review will get an opportunity to complete it for reduced credit. Okay. Essentially, you'll be completing the peer review using a sort of generic essay from a past class. So you'll be using the skills of peer review, but obviously your comments won't be going to an actual student. Um, okay, I promised you it was going to be a short session. So really, that's all I have to cover. It's just do this stuff for week 4, okay? The journal response, final chief module, and this big guy here. Okay, good. Nick says he completed peer review. Yeah, most of your attention needs to go here, guys, okay? Really, because I think obviously I can't reveal names or grades. That violates privacy issues. But I think that even people who received high grades had issues to work on. Like sometimes it was APA was a big one. I'll take the blame for that because again, I think I stumbled a little bit in last week's session because the document was doing funky things and I had to start over. Um, but the newer video that I've been sending out to people, that is much more detailed and streamlined, and you can follow that video perfectly. Don't forget about projectapa.info, also a terrific site. Again, if you don't like my walkthrough video, you can go here and simply follow the examples for in-text citations, references, APA paper format. I think the walkthrough video is sort of more user-friendly. Again, maybe there are parts where I go a little bit fast and you have to rewind or go back, but I walk through every single step of the process. Okay. And yeah, those who need to leave, you can go. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Devante, it's 7:25. Can we arrange, because this lecture will end in a few minutes, but I have to I'm in a secluded kind of private room and I need to pack things up and get back to my desk. How about 7:40? Can you give me a call then, Devante? That's 15 minutes from now. That'll give me plenty of time not only to pack up my stuff and get back to my desk, but also, I don't know, use the restroom and such. Okay, I guess I should stop the recording because 15 minutes. So 7:40. It's 7:25 Eastern right now. If you're on Central Time, it's 6:25, so that'd be 6:40. Okay, so yeah, 15 minutes from now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording because people don't need to hear my private instructions to Devante and my comments about using the restroom. So people are watching. Thank you for watching. Those who are attending, thank you for attending, especially those of you who've been with us all month for the lectures. I thank you so much. I'm not going to say goodbye because I'm going to be hearing from most of you again through FSO messaging or definitely through my feedback on your work that you'll be submitting this week. So I'm going to stop the recording now.